We often think, well, if I just stay behind this little mask here, then I'll be safe. And yet that's so not true. People will experience so much more peace and calm when they take it off.
Well, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of A Widow's Heart, and really honored to introduce you to my guest, Darla. Darla Nelson is a Christian life and health coach, an author, and a speaker who specializes in helping women, and as she says, a few wise men, move from stress and anxiety to peace and to purpose. And over a decade of coaching and certifications in life and health coaching, Darla equips her clients with practical tools, faith-based strategies to navigate life with greater calm and clarity. It's so good to meet you, Darla.
Thank you so much. I feel honored to be on your show.
Oh, it's just wonderful. And you're talking to us from California, right?
Absolutely. And normally we would have sun, but we don't.
Yeah,
we don't. Rain this week.
It's kind of gloomy here. And as we're speaking, it's February and we're having a thaw. So it's been almost 60 degrees every day for the last 3 days. So we're running around wearing shorts and flip-flops and, acting like goofballs.
Sounds nice.
Well, you've been married to your husband for 38 years and you've got quite a life that includes 3 married children and 5 grandchildren. And when you look at Darla's bio, you'll see that she looks like she's 35. So I don't know how that's possible. But so glad to have you on the podcast, which is called A Widow's Heart. But your book is called I'm Fine, Really, Moving from Stress and Anxiety to Peace and Calm. No matter where you are in life, whether it's on a grief journey or dealing with other problems, isn't it true that we all will do that? You walk down the hallway and someone says, "How are you?" And you're like, "Fine."
I'm fine. Yes, I'm fine.
You can kind of tell by how they answer, "I'm fine," how they really are. But thank you for writing this book. And I know that you've had your experiences with grief as well. Would you mind sharing that a little bit?
Sure. So my first really experience that hit home to my heart was back in 1993 when my brother died. I was a young mom, 2 small children. I had my 2 sons, and my brother had brain tumors. And so he died, and it was over an 8-year span of time from when he was first diagnosed to when he passed away. It's interesting, like even right now, just saying that, I got a tinge of tears popping up because I remember so clearly after he passed away, my youngest son, Kyle, at the time was not even 1, and he was in diapers, of course. And it was just this feeling like, I don't even know if I want to change a diaper right now. Like I'm just not in a good space. And so I will never forget a friend of mine, and I write about this in my book, and she comes to me and she says, "Darla, I need you to do something." Because I was in a negative space for sure, Pam. And her thought was, "I need you to go in your room, shut the door, and beg God to help you." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do that." And I did do it. And I remember like almost immediately this lift of pressure, this lift of sadness from that it had been overwhelming me. And it wasn't that it just magically went away. And yet God was giving me the strength to move forward as a mom and to do the things that were necessary. So that was a huge part of grief for me. And then fast forward 20 years later, Pam, same week, my dad dies. And then that in and of itself, it was really interesting that it happened. So my brother died July 29th. And my dad died August 6th. So same week, but 20 years later. And interestingly enough, back to 1993, my grandfather had also died a week later. And so here we are in 2013, and my dad passes away on the exact same day as his own father had died. Anniversary. It was just a really rough time.
Yeah. And as I was reading your book, I mean, you and your dad were really close. Mm-hmm. And you got to be with him at the end, and he knew Jesus. And it was just so touching reading that story that he was ready to go. But you lost your dad and your mom lost her husband. So you watched her on the journey of a widow. And what did you learn from that?
I learned that I wanted to be very patient, to give her space to truly breathe, to truly take time. I was thinking about that even this morning, knowing I would be on your call today. And what it means to be the child of someone that's lost their spouse. Like, I've not lost my spouse, so I truly don't understand that experience. And yet I have lost loved ones, but it's different. It's different, right? And so your audience of widows, it's like when I saw my mom so sad because they had a great marriage. Nobody's marriages are perfect, but they really had a great marriage. I mean, they lasted 53 years. They'd still be married today if he was
Wow.
alive. And even just a few days ago when it was Valentine's, my dad often at Valentine's, it's a funny story, but he would be at this farm show in California and he'd go, oh, that's right, it's Valentine's. And so he would stop on his way home and he'd buy my mom, he'd go to the pharmacy or the CVS or Rite Aid or whatever. And he would get her some roses from Rite Aid on his way home because he wanted to bring those home. And so here we are all these years later, dad died in 2013. We're in 13 years later almost. And mom said to me the other day, I would love to have those roses,
No matter where they came from, right?
Right. Yeah. That's how much she misses him still to this day. And yet what I love about looking at my mom's experience is that she has been able, through the grace of God, through the strength of God, she's been able to move forward. And she travels and she's going to be 84 in 2 more months.
Oh, God bless her. Yeah.
Yes. And she still does whatever she can to get out and about and be with people and encourage others on their own journey of life too.
We're talking with Darla Nelson, author of I'm Fine. Really? With an upward inflection. Really moving from stress and anxiety to peace and calm. And poor Darla got to see me with technical problems before we started this podcast. And I was like, I need help right now because I'm having some anxiety. And we're going to get to some tools that you're going to share that even we can use every day if we're feeling that we're kind of going in the wrong direction. But why do women so many times say, I'm fine when they're actually struggling?
I think that's because we really don't want to burden other people. And we, as women, we think we need to be stronger. We don't know how to explain what we're feeling, right? And so fine is almost like this mask. It's this mask that we put on. It's almost like a form of protection, maybe, when we tell the truth to ourselves of how we're really feeling and take off that mask. And vulnerability is what creates connection with people. It truly does. And yet we often think, well, if I just stay behind this little mask here, then I'll be safe. And yet that's so not true. People will experience so much more peace and calm when they take it off.
I'm in a Bible study on Monday nights. And last night I was talking to a friend there and she approached me first and was asking me all these questions. And I was talking about me, apparently my favorite subject. And all of a sudden I went, stop, and I looked at her and I said, how are you? And I think it's in the question too. If you said,
yes,
how are you doing? But how are you? And she looked at me and started crying. And then I heard of how she was doing. Kind of as you mentioned, just taking that mask off and being vulnerable.
I love, Pam, that you did that. I love that you stopped for a moment and asked her that question.
Yeah.
That was God. That was God putting that into you right then at that moment because she needed you.
Yeah, it's
beautiful.
It felt that way. It really felt that way. And you do a lot of scripture references too, but I love how you cherish Philippians 4, verse 8, correct? And speak a little bit to that and how that pertains to getting away from a lot of the stress and anxiety that we probably inflict on ourselves a lot.
Right. So that verse actually was given to me. I probably heard it most of my life, but it was really hitting home to me those last 6 months of my dad's life. And I talk a little bit too in the book where my parents experienced a fire in their home and my husband was rebuilding their house. And so that's 3 hours from here. And so my husband was gone a lot during those last 6 months. And so I would go down there when my daughter was off of her schooling and spend a lot of time. And so I had this opportunity to just be with my father quite a bit in his last 6 months. And he would quote that scripture to me. And whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are honest. And it goes on and talks about trustworthy. And the part that I absolutely love is the very end where it says, think on those things. I love that translation. whatsoever's pure, whatsoever's honest. Think on those things. I actually have a very large sign right behind me over here on the wall that is that verse. And it's because it was truly the catalyst for me leaving my prior career, which was a financial advisor. I left that to get more certifications and become a life coach. And it's because of that verse. It truly is.
I'm going back to chapter 2 that we were talking about grief, and you share in your book different ways to deal with grief. And of course, there are so many stages. I lost my first husband so many years ago, but you have a heart, for helping others so much. And I always say, I have a heart for widows, and that's what God implanted in me. And there are different stages, like any stage of grief or life change. But you have some really excellent ideas in here on how to do that. I think it's on like page 9, starting with, well, of course, remembering and celebrating the life of your loved one. But then what's really hard for as women, and when we touched on that too, is acknowledging your own feelings and not trying to hide things, because that's going to prolong the grief.
Absolutely. So in reference to that one, grief, I'll just read some of it. Grief is often a very hard experience. And the thing that I feel like I've learned the most through grief, Pam, is that next sentence in my book: everyone responds differently. It's wise to remember that not everyone in your family, not everyone at work, wherever you are, they're not going to respond the same. And it doesn't mean that they're bad or you're better or none of that. It just means that they're responding differently to death. How I responded to death was very differently than how my sister responded to death. It didn't mean that she's right, I'm wrong. No, it just meant that we were different.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I have a friend, Carol, who lost her husband. And I say lost is a bad thing. He went to heaven. Alan was an incredible man. He suffered and had an incredible battle with cancer, but he's now in heaven. That's like 3 weeks ago. And then a week after the service, I was out of town, but I was keeping in touch with her by text. And I said, what are you doing today? And she said, well, my brother's here and we're doing some bank things and I'm trying to go through his clothes. And I said, listen, there's no handbook. You don't have to do it today. You can do it next week. You can do it in 3 months. You can do it next year. If you feel like you need to do it today, do it today. But just take care of yourself. And that's also in your book too, is how do we get on that plane of learning how to just take a deep breath and be kind to ourselves.
Yes, and to pause and breathe with a sense of intention. I just was talking to a client yesterday, how often we forget that we need to breathe. I mean, who knew, right? Like as you breathe in, let your body know that it's okay. You don't have to solve everything right now. Just like you told your friend, we don't have to put the clothes away and do all the things right now unless you want to. And yet we think we have to do all these things because when we breathe, when we learn how to truly breathe with intention, it helps to slow our breaths down, and that interrupts what we call the stress response. And that might sound simple to some people, but it's really powerful because we can't control truly what we feel, but we can guide our nervous system back to safety by learning how to breathe.
And you have tangible examples of how to do that. One that I'm really familiar with is the 4-7-8.
Okay.
Breathing in through your nose for 4 seconds, holding it for 7, and then out for 8 seconds. And that has really helped me. And I'm learning a lot about the vagus nerve.
Yes. Yes.
Can you address that just a little bit? And just a couple of those exercises too for someone listening right now. And as you say, you've helped a lot of women and some very wise men. And we've talked to a lot of widows and a couple of very wise widowers too on A Widow's Heart. So I'm talking with Darla Nelson. And yeah, just tell us about some of those ways to basically address that horrible feeling that we get when we're anxious.
Yes, one of my favorite and I think helpful breathing exercises, Pam, for people that I've worked with that have been widows or widowers is what I refer to as the breathe in what you want, breathe out what you don't want. And I'll give you an example if that's okay. So it's like breathing in love, joy, compassion, understanding, and breathing out frustration and denial and anger, and recognizing that I always want to remind myself that those hard things, anger, as an example, God created all of our emotions. So it's okay to be angry. It's just we can be angry like, why did this happen to me? Why did I lose my spouse? Why did I lose my dad? Why did I lose my brother? The important part is, what are we doing with the anger? How are we redirecting that anger? Are we turning it to God? Are we giving it over to Him so that He can help us with those things? And so when we breathe in what we want, love, peace, kindness, understanding, and you hold it, and then you breathe out what you don't want, frustration and the anger and denial and hatred and all the feelings, right, that we might have. And we learn to start doing that, it truly will help us.
Darla Nelson, the book again is called I'm Fine, Really? Question mark. Moving from stress and anxiety to peace and to calm. And so there's a big feeling when I've talked to so many widows over the years that they come to a time where, well, if I go and do this, if I laugh, my first time going out shopping, or if I go out, God forbid, dating, that means I'm forgetting. And that causes a whole level of anxiety and what should I do? What would your advice be for them? You don't forget. You don't forget. You know what you've been through. But they feel if they move forward that they're doing a disservice to their loved one.
Yes. And I understand that feeling from a losing my brother and my father perspective, not from, like I mentioned, I'm not a widow. I would say, give yourself grace. We're not going to rebuild everything at once. And I often would remind myself after my dad died that my dad would want me to be happy. He would want me to go live out Christ in the world, right? And so it's going to take some time. But when you have that first laugh, and you can think of the person that passed away, I just thought of this right now, Pam, when I smile and am joyful, even about Philippians 4, verse 8, to think about my dad who would be like so happy that I'm happy, right?
I love that. I think that's really a good way to handle that and to look at those emotions when you think of that person that you loved so much. Also, in the book, you have a concept called be, do, have. Did I get that correct? Because that's the way you look at it. And
yes,
it's kind of the original one. The way we look at it is a different form of those words. But how do we utilize that concept? Be, do, have.
So often what happens is we think of it the opposite, like you mentioned. We think of, well, when I have a better job, when I have more money, when I have all the things, then I'm going to do, and then I'm going to be. And most of us think from this perspective, most of us think, when I feel better, then I'll have peace. Mm-hmm. But I would instead teach, who do I want to be in this season? Who do I want to be when I wake up? Do I want to be grounded? Do I want to be gentle? Do I want to be faithful? Do I want to be calm? And from whom we choose to be, then we get to decide what to do from that. And then we get to have. Our society
the whole restructuring.
Yes, backwards, right?
Yeah.
And yet I like to say flip the switch. I say that a lot. Flip the switch on how we think. Who do I want to be? So when I first learned this concept, it was 2017. I remember I was sitting in a conference and someone was teaching this concept to me, and I went, that's it. That's it. That's what I need to change about my own life. And so I began to say, I'm a loving, compassionate, inspiring soul. And I chose chose soul because I felt like that encompassed everything from being, a mom and I'm an Uma, not a grandma, I'm an Uma. Uh-huh. And also, I'm a life coach, and I'm a friend, and I'm a daughter, and all the things, right? And so that's why I chose soul. But a loving, compassionate, inspiring soul, that's who I want to be every day when I wake up. And if I live with that intention, then it's going to be portrayed in my life. And that's the goal.
I remember reading somewhere in your book too, and you've been practicing that, and someone accused you of, you're not that happy. And no one's perfect, but you can do that, and align yourself each and every day. And that's what we're supposed to be doing through the scripture and by reading the Bible too. along with Philippians 4, verse 8, and you can be happy. But then didn't she accuse you of like, you're not really showing your real feelings?
Well, there's a danger to speak to that. There's a danger in what we call toxic positivity.
Yeah.
And we hear a lot about that now, don't we? Like there's a lot of people that are trying to be so positive. I'm so positive. No, I'm only the way I am because of Christ. Like everything about me, like I am a sinner. I mess up all the time, just like everybody else. The key for me is that I know I cannot do this journey, this life by myself. I just absolutely cannot do that. And so that's where that comes in for me, toxic positivity either. I want to just know that my positivity is coming from my connection with a higher source, a higher power.
What we were talking about recently about the Bible verse, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. And when you follow the light on that path, you become the light. And
yes, that's nice.
I mean, it reminded me of a Sunday school verse when we had that. And I kind of was like going, really, that's our verse in this adult women's Bible study class. And it was like, what a great revisit,
Yes,
and
for
I
sure.
love that.
Remind us to be like little children.
Yeah. Can you speak to maybe the widow or widower who's lost their spouse recently or really at a tough part in their journey? How do they navigate that stress today? Maybe just a couple helps for them.
I'd say once again, the number one would just be to give themselves grace, give themselves space to not try to figure out everything all at one time and to know that it's okay. And it's whether it's in the space of being a widow or it's the space of just life in itself, we tend to think we have to get everything figured out today. And we want to know what the outcome is like tomorrow. Like, well, I don't know what's going to happen in a week, but I want to know now, right?
That's true. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yes. That's actually been a conversation. It's coming up for me like almost daily lately, is that people want, when I say people, I'm including myself, we want to have the outcome. We want what's going to happen. We want to know. And if we could just dial it back, just live for today, give ourselves grace. For the widows that are listening, give yourself grace to just be. And if a week goes by or 2 weeks goes by, you're like, it was all I could do to even make my bed, or it was all I could do to do the dishes. It's okay, because there will come a time when you will be able to take more steps forward with the power of God.
Talking with Darla Nelson, whose book is called I'm Fine, Really, and we've got about probably 5 minutes to wrap this up. But I just wanted to say that I love your book and that I can see groups from all different, kinds coming together to do a book study on this together. Take it chapter by chapter. Wow, you can learn so much. And you can get your book on Amazon. And then at that point too, and we've always said too, if you're having negative thoughts, when should you look for help? When should you call Darla Nelson, Christian life coach, for some help?
That's a good question. And it's really going to be about their perfect timing. Mm-hmm. It's not when someone else says they should.
Right.
It's they feel it in their heart. I've had people come to me that maybe their parents sent them or someone said they needed to come, and they came, but it wasn't the right timing. And it has to be about when that woman is ready to move forward without feeling like they're leaving their past behind even. Because moving forward isn't about forgetting. It's truly not. You carry the love of that person with you. You're going to carry the memories with you. You're going to carry every lesson with you. And how they'll know is when they're like, you know what? I don't want to stay where I am right now. Like, I'm ready to see a vision of what the future can bring me and who I'm going to be in the future. And I want to start living that now. And so that's when people typically reach out for me.
I love that. So there's more at CoachDarlaNelson.com if you'd like to learn more. And I understand that you have an upcoming retreat. You actually do a spring and a fall retreat?
I do. So I have a spring retreat, which is April 18th. That's a smaller one. It's just typically, when I say smaller, meaning 4 hours, and it's at my home here in California.
You do virtual at all with that?
I do not. No, I'm all about in person.
Mm.
And then I do some online events, and I'm open to opportunities for that, of course. I've done a lot of those in the past 2020, 2021. I was always online. And then I have my fall event, which is open to all of you. That's going to be actually it's a 2.5 day event and retreat, and it'll be in Carmel, California. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's the beach. The wonderful.
Oh my, it's one of the most beautiful places on earth. My family lived in Sunnyvale, California when I was younger. So I love that Northern California, mid California, area so much. Beautiful.
Yes. So I would just encourage people, if they're interested in those, they can go to my website, which is coachdarlanelson.com. And also, if they want to order the book, and also you can go to Amazon. And I would request or encourage you to go to the website first, because there, when you put in your information, you're going to get access to a free ebook. And it's really more about what's going on behind Fine. And so you'll get a free little 3-page ebook that will help you with that. And so it's a great way to kind of get a feeling of what the book's about before you actually purchase it.
Wonderful. Can I ask you to pray us out here? I hope get cut off, but yeah, can I ask you to just pray us out here, Darla? So wonderful to have you on A Widow's Heart.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank Pam for having me on her show today. And I just think of all the widows out there that are listening. And Lord, if you could just be with each one of them, give them courage, give them grace, give them understanding, help them to have patience, and help them to trust in you more than they've ever trusted in you before. And even though we know these are really difficult times that they're experiencing, we're grateful that you always provide, and you always bring comfort. And what comes to me now, Lord, even as I do this prayer, is those verses that speak, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Just help us to rest in that, we pray. In thy name, amen.